Hi, I'm Faroz Khan from iTrack Recruitment, and welcome to the Low Code Podcast, where we're dedicated to increasing awareness and appreciation of the power of low code. In this podcast, we'll hear from developers about their career journeys and how low code has enabled them to achieve new levels of success and innovation. In today's episode, my guest is Adam Reynolds, a low code evangelist and developer from the UK. Adam has been working in software development for many years and has a deep understanding of the power of low code platforms and how they can transform the way we work. We'll be discussing Adam's journey as a developer and how he discovered the potential of low code. So let's go. Hi Adam, how are you?
Hey, Faraz, I'm good, thanks. Yourself?
Yeah, enjoying the English weather at the minute. What about yourself?
Yeah, we've gone from sunshine to just torrential rain. It's thrilling British weather as always.
One day of sunshine here and there, isn't it?
Yeah, that's all you get. That's all you get. That's probably summer done now, to be fair. Let's face it.
Yeah, I feel like it's been winter for a very long time, to be honest. Very long
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
It's crazy. Well, thanks for, agreeing to take part in the podcast. As we were discussing kind of offline, I've known about you for a while. We've engaged in the past in some conversations, but following your content on LinkedIn has been quite interesting, and
Thank you.
your love for geese and things like that. That you've got, which will
I
which
was,
will be which will be a question definitely to
yeah,
discuss.
interesting phase of my life. I do
But
miss it.
yeah, I think yeah, we like to start obviously with you give a bit of introduction about yourself, tell us a bit about your background and a bit about who you are.
Yeah. So I have been a developer for almost 20 years now. God, I'm getting old. Um, Started way back in VB6 doing some work for my dad, who was also a programmer. So
Wow,
he's been in coding, well, he was in coding for 40 years of his career.
wow,
So I just sort of naturally fell into it after
fell
I got
into it.
to uni age, and I was like, I don't know what to do. Let's try programming.
Yeah, yeah,
So I picked up VB6 and did some coding at uni. Straight out of uni, I got into a .NET development job doing web apps. So I spent a good few years working across multiple industries doing web applications, predominantly C sharp. Obviously,
mm,
it's web, so a lot of JavaScript,
yes,
a lot of HTML.
yeah,
But I was also full stack, so I've done a lot of
yeah,
SQL. I've even maintained servers. I've done pretty much
a
everything
lot.
across
Yeah, yeah,
development.
yeah,
Yeah. Eventually, I got to the point where I was getting fed up of doing development work, writing
yeah.
SQL statements. If I had to write select star from one more time, so and I fell into a low code job,
Mm,
and I've now spent past 4 or 5 years working in low code across
mm,
multiple platforms. Um, and in my current job, I've had a chance to look at even more low code platforms, which is
mm.
great. Fell in love with low code. Um, I've since had to do some JavaScript for the past sort
Okay,
of month or so. So I've gone back
yeah.
into doing a bit more code. It just makes you remember how much I love low code, in all honesty. I
You
mean, needs
appreciate,
must.
yeah,
Sometimes you have to do
yeah,
traditional
yeah, of
code, but
course.
low code's
Yeah,
just so much easier.
yeah.
But yeah, so I've got quite a broad range of experience across development.
Mm,
So I think I've got a decent understanding of the benefits of low code and why it's
mm,
so great, or I think it's so great. Um, which is not to say traditional development still doesn't have
yeah,
a place. I
mm,
have this conversation quite a lot on Reddit.
yeah,
No, we're not trying to kill traditional
yeah, yeah,
developers,
yeah,
but hey, there's benefits to this low code
yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that's my journey in a nutshell.
Nice. Yeah, so just kind of going back, obviously, when I was looking at your LinkedIn and profile, you did .NET for a very long time.
Yep.
And then when you switched to low code, so you started with OutSystems
Mm-hmm.
as a low code platform. When you were kind of applying for jobs or whichever way you got the job, had you heard of it before? Did you know about it? Or was it
Uh,
kind of you took the
no.
job and then
Yeah,
explored
so
it?
it's quite a funny story. I applied for a job as a lead developer,
Yeah.
and it was advertised as a .NET position.
Okay.
So I applied for it. I went
Yeah,
in.
yeah,
And I'm
yeah.
like, hey, yeah, I'm interested. I want to
Yeah,
take the
yeah.
next step in my career. If
Yeah.
I get into leadership, I don't have to write so many select
Yeah,
statements.
yeah,
That's great.
yeah.
And during the interview, the lady who was interviewing me went, actually, you'll be working with low code and out
Yeah.
systems. And I was like,
Yeah.
low code.
What's that?
I mean,
Yeah.
it wasn't even what's that. This is visual programming. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
I've seen this before. This doesn't
Yeah.
work. Nobody
Yeah.
does this. I've
Yeah.
tried it. I spent some time working on a platform called MetaStorm eWorks,
Mm.
which is a
Yeah.
visual BPM tool.
Yeah.
Hated it.
Yeah.
I left the company, went back to .NET. I'm like, oh, but by this point, I'm 13 years into
Yeah.
development. I'm like, do you know
Yeah.
what? Let's try it. What's the
Yeah.
worst
Yeah.
that can happen? I can always
Yeah.
go back to .NET.
Yeah.
There's
Of
plenty of
course. Yeah.
jobs around at the time.
Mm.
So she was very persuasive as well, which helped.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
bit the bullet. I jumped in with both feet. I tried it. I tell you what, after about 4 weeks, I'd learned the basics and how to
Yeah.
do stuff,
Yeah.
and I was starting to make progress. I
Mm.
took a couple of days to build an application that had taken me a month probably in .NET to build.
Wow.
And I was like,
Yeah.
what am I doing? Why,
Yeah.
why, why have I spent so much time doing these things? It's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
so much faster.
Yeah.
So that was sort of how I got into low code with OutSystems, as you say.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I spent about 18 months working on OutSystems, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah. And so when you were kind of when you started the role with, were you kind of doing your own training, or there was a lot of kind of training from the employer, or a
So
bit of both?
we uh, we started picking up ourselves for a bit, and then we had
Mm,
a 5-day crash course
mm,
from an OutSystems trainer.
yeah,
Um, to be honest, probably could have done it on my own without the
yeah,
training, but there was a
yeah,
bunch of us, so we all got in there. And it's a great way to all learn
mm,
together, to be fair. You
yeah,
bounce off each other, and we're
yeah,
picking up new things, and we did learn a lot. But I think transitioning from traditional to low code, I've had this conversation with quite a lot of people before now, and it's 4 weeks and you can start building stuff. Give
yeah,
yourself a couple of months playing with it, you'll be building production ready things
mm,
to scale.
yeah,
Obviously, with any programming language, you learn more over time. You get better,
yes,
you get more efficient, you find
yeah,
shortcuts.
yeah, of
Um,
course.
but yeah, it doesn't take long to switch. And as I mentioned earlier as well,
Mm,
I've switched back to doing some JavaScript now. It's not like you
yeah,
lose
yeah,
those
yeah, yeah,
skills.
exactly. Yeah, yeah,
You're just
yeah.
gaining another tool set.
Mm. And I think, yeah, what you said, we come across a lot, especially like someone like yourself who worked in .NET for quite a while. It's very rare for them to change
Mm,
technologies and kind of move into something else. And then it's good to hear, you say it's quite easy to kind of transition, where
yeah,
a lot of people we get will still push back and say, well, this is going to kind of, it's not progress, or it's not, I've built this career in .NET, Java, whatsoever.
yeah.
If I was to switch over, will I be senior? Will I be regarded as a senior developer, or I'm going back to learning? Am I going to be regarded as a mid junior level? You know what I mean?
That's the thing about programming. It's not so much about the language, it's about the problem solving.
Mm,
You build up a set of skills around solving problems, spotting particular problems, and reapplying solutions you've used before. It doesn't matter what language you're doing it in.
yeah.
It transitions from one to the next to the next. I mean, I've worked on web apps, desktop apps. I've done app for that was one of my favorite experiences ever. I've even worked, I mean, action script back in Flash. I've written stuff in
Mm,
that, but it's just syntax at the end of the day.
yeah.
Every language has got its own little quirks and things, but you're solving
Mm,
problems. That's
yeah.
what we're here to do. And low code's just a faster way to solve those problems. You need
Mm,
to focus on
mm,
the solution. It's not
yeah.
about the lines of code. It's about
Yeah.
building something that fixes the problem.
Mm. And then obviously, yeah, after OutSystems, you which is very rare. I think there's not many people that I know of, but then you took the leap to Mendix.
Yeah.
How did that kind of come around? Was that something you obviously you probably heard, you being OutSystems, you probably heard of Mendix. Was that
Actually,
something you kind of
it
looked at?
hadn't come up, to be
Oh,
honest. We were
okay.
so heads down in our
Yeah, yeah,
systems.
yeah.
That's what we were doing. My persuasive boss at the time moved to another
Ah, okay.
company,
Yeah,
and she's like, "We want to put low code in. We need
yeah,
someone to do it. You've
yeah,
done this.
yeah.
Come and do it
Come
here.
over. Yeah.
But by the way, we'll be using Mendix." Yeah, okay. I've done one. I'll do another one. Why not?
Yeah,
Again, I mean, the transition was even quicker,
yeah.
just from one low code platform to another.
Mm,
Couple of weeks,
yeah.
and
Wow.
off we go. We had expert services support us when we started our Mendix
Mm,
contract, and the architect came in and was talking to us about doing this and that, and this is the best
Mm.
way to do it. And by the end of it, he was sort of backing off, hands off. He's like, do you know what? You guys have got this. You
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
need
yeah,
me. Just carry on.
yeah,
And at that point, I picked up Mendix and
yeah,
used it for, I think I was there for 8 or 9 months using
yeah,
Mendix,
yeah,
but fell in love with the platform
yeah.
and went to work for Mendix
Mendix came knocking on the
because,
door.
to be fair, I knocked on their door.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah,
At this point, I was so much in love with low code that I
yeah,
wanted to be at the heart of low code
yeah, of
and
course. Yeah,
really push myself. Working within specific industries, obviously you're constrained by
mm,
the problems around you. You're
yeah,
fixing specific things, but I was
yeah,
trying to get embedded in there.
yeah,
Did that. Fantastic company to work for, lovely
yeah,
place,
yeah,
great platform.
yeah. And your role there kind of you were there for about a year and a half, year and a
Yeah,
half.
yeah, about that.
And
Yeah.
how did you kind of because obviously you're working directly for them.
Mm-hmm.
What did your role, because I know you, while you were there, you post a lot of content. So what did your role really entail while you were working for Mendix?
So I was a low-code evangelist, product evangelist.
Mm,
So we were focused around showcasing the product and what
mm,
art of the possible. This is what you can
mm,
build with it. So we built all sorts of different demo apps. I worked on the insurance vertical when I started and built a bunch of
mm,
insurance demos. But it was all about learning the features of the platform, understanding what you can do, what the limits
yeah.
are, which are really hard to find, by the way.
Mm, yeah.
Same with OutSystems, to be fair. People
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
it's limited, but
Yeah.
honestly, finding limits is really difficult.
Yeah.
Um, but part of that also turned into sort of developer outreach
Mm,
and trying to help people understand that low code isn't, it's not all the same. Low
yeah.
code
Yeah.
isn't
Yeah.
just one thing.
Yeah.
If you ever scroll through LinkedIn, you'll see people post pictures of these are all the low code systems out there,
Mm,
and there'll be thousands of things on
yeah.
the
There's a
sheet of
lot.
paper, and you have to
Yeah. Yeah.
zoom in really far to
Yeah.
find
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
And a lot of pushback we get from developers is, I've tried low code, it doesn't work.
Mm,
And they say, well, you say you've tried low code, what did you try? And
yeah.
it'll turn out they've tried one thing that calls itself low code that's this specific function within
Yeah.
another system that just integrates two bits of,
Yeah.
and it's like, well, that doesn't mean you've tried
That's
low
not it.
code.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And especially when you're talking the Mendix of the world, where you can build massive application
Mm,
suites, trying to explain to people the scope of this and what you can do. And as I say, if you scroll back through my LinkedIn, you'll
mm,
see posts about the features that hopefully are relatable to people and they can understand and say, oh, I can
yeah.
build a
Yeah.
workflow
Yeah.
engine in
Yeah.
Mendix. Wow.
Yeah. And I think that's what it is. There's a lot of people who don't really give it a proper go, or just kind of
Mm,
consider it or look into it. I think we've had situations where we've told people do some research, do some proper research into it, and then
yeah.
and we'll give them information about even the client project, what they're doing, things like that. And usually in a day or two they're like, oh no, I'm not interested. Where I think it's really worth, especially with all the kind of free training and things you can do
Mm,
as well, and the training aside, even just like videos that you've posted, other people have kind of, YouTube is full of them.
absolutely.
There's full of videos of enough people out there kind of highlighting the features of the platform, which I think people should really, really consider.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, it's like any programming language. You can't look at it for 2 days and go, do you know
Yeah.
what?
That's it.
It's
Yeah.
rubbish. It doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's what it is. It's a
Mm,
programming language. I've,
yeah.
I've spoken about this before that, I mean, we've gone from assembly where you'd be doing go-to lines.
Yeah.
Someone came up with basic. When progress was made, we got
Progressed.
C.
Yeah.
Then actually C is a bit complicated. Let's do C++. We'll iterate on
Yeah.
it. We'll make it a bit easier to use. Then we got C sharp, which is really more Java. But
Yeah. Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
let's count it as part of the
Yeah.
progression. We got
Yeah.
C sharp, which is even
Yeah.
easier to use. Well,
Yeah.
what comes after that? You've got your
Yeah. Exactly.
PHPs of the world and things, but
Mm,
the only real big jump now is, well, why write lines of code? Let's
mm,
build it as a flow. Let's do
yeah.
it visually, and that's what low code.
Yeah.
That's what some low code is.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
another bugbear of mine. Is the term
Yeah.
low code now? It just
Yeah.
means so many different things that
Yeah.
I think that's the next real progression, is to start
Mm,
breaking these things down into
and yeah.
smaller parts to say,
Yeah.
do you know what? Your
Mm,
Mendix and your outer systems of the world are not directly equivalent to your Pegas and Appians, which are more
Yeah,
BPM
of course.
tools, or
Yeah.
Salesforce calls itself low code. Obviously,
Mm.
Salesforce is way bigger than that.
Yeah, of
It's
course.
just they have
Yeah.
a small low code part to
Yeah.
it. So
Big
I can
ServiceNow are
see,
similar, aren't they?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I can see that there's going to be more segregation in the market, or I
Yeah.
hope there
Yeah.
is. So
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
when they say I've tried low code,
They've
well,
actually tried. So yeah, I
yeah,
think what kind of causes confusion is like, there's Gartner list where they're all on the one,
mm,
they're all on the one kind of
yeah,
graph. So kind of it makes you think they're all kind of at a similar level.
yeah. Problem is, if you broke those down, then it'd be a very lonely chart because
Yeah, there
you've
wouldn't be
got
much going
Mendix
on
and
there. Yeah.
OutSystems, maybe Power Apps, although there's so
Yeah.
many disparate parts to Power Apps, it's
Yeah.
difficult to say that it's really an equivalent of those,
Yeah.
but
Mm.
you'd end up with just those two
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
competing with
Yeah.
each other, which kind of they
Exactly.
do
Yeah.
anyway at that
Is
top
yeah.
corner.
Exactly.
But
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
And yeah, the I wanted to ask you the story about obviously the goose and how that come around and
yeah.
the love of goose.
So I posted a meme, which
Yeah.
the first one I really posted that took off. It got like
Mm.
80,000 interactions or something
Wow.
crazy. Um, there's a dog, a fish, a bird, and a goose.
Yeah.
And I I made it equivalent to HTML, JavaScript, C Sharp, and Mendix.
Yeah.
Each of the things on their own can do certain
Yeah.
tasks, but they can't do the others. But Mendix, everything in one box.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as I say, it took off, no pun intended.
Yeah.
And people seem to enjoy the goose.
Yeah.
So the goose became the Mendix
Your little
goose.
trademark.
And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
used it to convey ideas, create simple
Mm.
little images that just
Mm.
catch people's attention. Because on
Yeah.
LinkedIn, you've got so much content going
So
past, you
much.
need
Yeah. Yeah.
something just to,
Unique. Yeah. Stands
yeah.
out. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it just, people caught their eye, they got used to seeing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I used it to explain more concepts around
Yeah.
Mendix because there are some concepts in Mendix that are a little abstract to developers.
Mm.
OutSystems, for example, the
Mm.
OutSystems database, it's a relational database.
Yeah.
Come from .NET, SQL,
Yeah.
you can walk straight into it. You've got it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mendix is a bit more abstract because it's
Mm.
by association,
Mm.
which means your data hangs together slightly differently. And people don't quite get how that works. So I tried to
Mm.
explain how that works. And then there's extra security features there, which means you can do all
Mm.
sorts of wonderful things with it. So I tried to explain that. And this is stuff that maybe your average consumer would be like, this doesn't
Yeah.
mean
Yeah.
anything to me.
Yeah.
But if I can say to you, well, you could have 3 different companies working in one database and they will never see each other's data.
Mm. Yeah.
Well, hang on, how do you do that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Set some settings here. And if you've got a
Mm.
junior come in, they can't accidentally expose every other
Yeah.
company's
Yeah.
data to
Yeah.
each other,
Exactly. Yeah.
which I've seen happen. So have a feature like that and be able to explain to
Mm.
people in relatable terms. That's what the goose
Yeah.
was doing.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's
But the
good.
goose is Mendix's goose, which is why you
Yeah.
don't see
Yeah.
it anymore.
That's
I
all.
left
That's
it there.
that was my question. Because
Yeah,
obviously you've
yeah.
moved on now. So is the goose retired or has it been continued by someone else? I haven't seen it, to be
I
honest. I
asked for
haven't seen it.
somebody else to pick it up, but he's
Yeah.
not come back yet. I'm hoping. I'm hoping. I know
Yeah.
there's been some work come out of Japan, Mendix Japan,
Okay. Okay.
Arbol, and one of his colleagues did a manga
Mm.
for Mendix,
Ah,
which I thought was
okay.
quite good. I
Yeah,
enjoyed that.
cool. That's cool. That's crazy. So yeah, so you've obviously now at Coherent.
That's right.
Coherent.
Yeah.
Um and do you want to kind of tell them they're not well known to me.
No, new
So it'd be good to
company.
kind of get a bit of a background of what they
Mm,
do, what you're doing there. You said
yeah,
obviously it gives you a lot more exposure to other platforms as well, which is great. So yeah, it'd be good to hear about that.
absolutely. So Coherent been around for about 2 years now in their current form.
Mm.
Came out of insurance. Obviously, Excel. Everybody knows Excel.
Yes.
And lots of people have a problem with Excel.
Yeah.
Or at least they say they have a problem with Excel.
They keep using it though, yeah.
I mean, it's been going around for nearly 40 years now,
Yeah, yeah.
750 million users worldwide.
Wow.
People keep saying they're going to get rid of it out of the businesses, but nobody can. And
No.
there's a reason.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
easy to use and it's great at what it does.
Mm.
Your problem comes in when you try and deploy it to a production type environment.
Yeah.
You lose auditability, you get versioning issues, distribution becomes a headache. And that's where Coherent comes in. Because Coherent Spark takes that spreadsheet, you apply some tags to it, drag it, drop it, you then get an API, which can be consumed from
Wow.
anywhere.
Wow.
So that's where the low code connection comes in for me, because I'm sitting there thinking, well, I know OutSystems and the new version of Mendix as well have got tools to bring in your Excel spreadsheet and build an application. Airtable basically built their business around converting Excel into applications, but they take your data structure and build your front end, but the logic gets left behind. And the answer is normally you can rebuild that logic in low code, which you can. But if you've got a spreadsheet with 20 interconnected worksheets in it with thousands upon thousands of formulas, it can be a real headache trying to rebuild that. I mean, traditional code, I've done it before in previous jobs. I've spent 6 months rebuilding a spreadsheet in an application because it was so complicated.
Wow.
But now you can just tag a few cells, drag it, drop it, and hey, pass this data in, you get this data out. And if you want to edit it, the person who built it in Excel can just edit it in Excel, and they're in charge of it. So we've abstracted 6 months worth of development work to maybe an hour's worth of tagging a file.
Wow.
I'm like, the power of this product, I want to be part of that, because that's brilliant. And it also opens up the floodgates for me for low-code platforms. I've looked at more than a dozen different low-code platforms since I started. And some real eye-openers out there as well. There's some new ones coming through now that are just, they're absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, there's just so many around at the moment. It's just, you lose track of them, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's great. And you know, your role within the business is obviously, is it kind of, you know, researching those platforms and seeing how Coherent could integrate with them, I'm guessing?
Yeah, so I'm still a product evangelist for Coherent.
Yeah.
And I look at different platforms. This is how you integrate with them. This is how we can facilitate your move from, you know, these cumbersome manual processes to automated low-code futures, or even just, you know, you can even take an Excel spreadsheet, upload it, and then consume that again in an Excel spreadsheet if you want to keep using Excel. But that core function now is centralized, audited, secured, you know, all the things that people worry about when you talk about shadow IT, it's taken care of. But I also talk about the application side of things. And if you're building an application, this is the cycle you've got to go through when you're moving from Excel to a web app. You've got to go through the analysis, you've got to go through the build, the test, the it's broken, let's go back to analysis, build, no, still broken, let's go back again. Eventually you get it through, and then someone says, oh, we found a bug. Okay, well, back into the build test cycle. Now we just say, well, they built it in Excel, they've tested it, we can test it through the platform. We've got companies who run billions of tests on spreadsheets in a month. Literally billions. So it's fully tested. Here's your API developer. Oh, great. I'll just hook that up and we're done. Oh, there's a bug in it. Well, you fix that, update the API for me. I don't need to do anything.
Wow.
It just,
it's impressive.
That citizen development taken up a notch, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's great. That's really good. And you know, is there kind of, you know, from the other platforms you've been looking at, is there any kind of, you know, that obviously you haven't worked with in the past that's kind of impressed you quite a bit?
There's one more of a productivity management low-code tool called SmartSuite, which I've looked at, and there's just so many nice little quality of life features that they've been adding in there. I quite like the look of that one. I think that's going places. Another one that I've seen is UI Flow, where they're building their low-code platform on the premise that you build the front end and hook it up to REST APIs, which obviously, when you're talking Coherent Spark, you're thinking, hang on a minute, I'm doing my logic in Excel, build the front end here, and just that one's coming together. It's not finished yet. They're still working on it, iterating on it. I mean, everyone's still working on the product, but
of course,
it's getting better and better and better. They're doing real-time collaboration and things, so two developers can work on the front end, Figma style, literally at the same time on the same page. I'm like, I really like the way this one's going. I think that one's definitely looking good.
That's great. That's really good. And going back to your kind of OutSystems Mendix kind of experience, when you were kind of using OutSystems, obviously because you'd come back, you jumped into low code from traditional. And it was around, I think, 2018, wasn't it? You started OutSystems, I think,
Sounds about right. Yeah, about
around that
5 years
year.
ago. Yeah.
So, what was kind of, when you kind of started working with it, some features that you thought, oh wow, these features are really make this platform great.
I've spoken about my hatred for writing SQL statements. I think that was the thing that really got me, is that data
Yeah.
management piece,
Mm,
because it takes that level of abstraction. So
mm,
you can just say, add me a row here,
mm,
go and find me these rows. It just makes that so much crisper and so much easier.
mm.
Um, I think that was my real savior. That was
Yeah,
the thing
yeah,
that really stood out to me. Was
yeah,
I guess that's just the tip of the iceberg, though, because that's
yeah,
one level of
yeah.
abstraction. It's doing the
Mm,
security as well. All those
mm.
day-to-day jobs that you don't really think about. You just sort of starting a new project. Here we go again.
Here
Let's
we go.
build the database. Let's start writing our data statements. Let's
Yeah,
set up the security. And it's like, no, just a couple of clicks and it's there. It's
yeah,
done.
yeah,
I think
yeah.
that's the thing that really got me, was I can focus on adding value,
Mm,
building
mm.
features, solving problems. It even leaves me time at the end to add the fun stuff that
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
every developer wants to be working on the fun
yeah.
stuff
Of
all the
course.
time. You've got
Yeah,
more
yeah,
time now for the fun
yeah,
stuff. You
yeah,
can really make your application shine.
yeah. And yeah, same in regard. Same question in regards to kind of Mendix. When you started working with Mendix, what kind of, obviously, because even though it was quite an easy transition for you, what were certain features, and there may have been some releases in the time you were there as well, that you felt kind of is why they are one of the leading low code platforms.
Yeah. So when you really understand their data security, it's quite complicated to get your head around. There is a bit of a
Mm,
learning curve with Mendix
mm,
when it comes to data security. But when you understand the power of XPath and the power of being able to lock data down for users, it really sets it apart. Because I
mm,
can say, when you log in as an employee of this company, you see this set of data. In
mm.
fact, if your boss logs in, he sees your data and all your teammates' data,
Yeah,
and you can edit your data. Maybe you can see your team's data, but you can't edit somebody else's data.
yeah,
And all this is controlled at the data level. So rather than having to say, well, if you're on this page and you're this user, then you should see these buttons or these fields should be editable.
mm,
You can just say, this is your data. Here it is.
yeah,
If you can edit it, it will be editable. If you can't edit it, it's locked down. If you can't see it, it's not there.
mm,
And it's just so much power just to that. I say accelerates the development in that if someone new comes in, they haven't got to worry about making mistakes and exposing data and breaches. They can just
yeah,
get going and it's done for them because
mm,
it was built right from the start.
mm. That's great. And since you've kind of started working with low code, it's grown quite a bit.
Yeah.
What's your kind of view on, obviously there's predictions and reports, all over Google, but what's your kind of personal opinion on low code and the future of low code?
I think the Gartner report that gets quoted quite a lot is
Mm,
that it's getting bigger by billions every
yeah.
year, isn't it? And I can't argue with that. I think the productivity increases plus the lack of developers. Uh,
Yes.
we've got to find a way to manage
Yeah.
this. Um, can we get more citizen developers in?
Mm,
Yes, absolutely. But there's a limit, because I've talked
mm,
about the problem solving aspect
yeah.
of programming before. If you can solve those problems as a programmer, you'd be working as a programmer. Citizen
Yeah. Yeah.
developers can
Yeah.
build applications, totally,
Mm,
but there's a limit to the
yeah.
depth of these applications.
Yeah.
So, okay, so they can help lighten the load, but how do we go further? Where do we get more developers? Well,
Mm,
we're trying to
yeah.
teach more developers,
Yeah.
but there's a finite pool. So, can we
Mm,
make developers more efficient?
mm,
Yeah. How do we do
yeah.
that? Low code.
Yeah.
Low
Yeah.
code's going to accelerate the performance of your developers, make it easier to build stable, robust applications, maintainable applications,
Mm,
consistent applications. So I
yeah.
think there's going to have to be more take up in that space. Again, it's
Yeah.
never going to completely get rid of traditional code. There's
Yeah.
always going to be a need for it. There's
Yeah.
always platforms that need that. But
Yeah.
I think there's a large portion of the market that can just pick up low code and start running
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we just need to persuade professional developers that
Yeah.
it's not the be all and end all. It's not like you're going to pick up low code and never do development again.
Mm,
There's
mm.
always room to go back. It's another
Yeah,
tool. It'll
yeah,
just help you build projects faster to get back to the other stuff that you want to do.
yeah,
It's a
exactly.
development
Yeah,
tool at the end of the day. You just need to give it a chance, learn it,
yeah.
try it. Probably won't want to go back, to be honest. I didn't. So
That kind of you kind of answered my question, my next question anyway. Because usually the question I ask is, what's your kind of message to the low code haters out there who kind of, really just can't be bothered to even consider it.
yeah, give it some time, try it, do some research. Obviously, I'm going to say OutSystems on Mendix because they're the most equivalent to traditional developments, in my opinion. They've got room to build pretty much anything you want to. Mendix did a project where they got 100,000 concurrent users running on an application. I mean, if you can do that,
yeah, well,
sky's the limit.
Yeah.
Pick one of the big two or pick a smaller one. I mean, tools like Retool, AirKit, they'll feel familiar enough that you'll be able to build stuff and see how much they accelerate your work and how good the results are.
Yeah.
Just try it. Don't just write it off as I've tried low code once, didn't like it, or I like writing my lines of code, therefore I'm not doing anything different.
Yeah.
I mean, if you truly are passionate about writing the most efficient, smallest number of lines of code you can, I'm not going to change your mind. And that's
exactly.
fine.
Exactly. Yeah.
Carry on. If you want to solve problems, if you want to be a developer, you want to build solutions, give it a go.
Yeah. And your time when you were obviously the stuff you were posting whilst you were at Mendix, you obviously, because of your background, you've probably got a network of various traditional backgrounds. Did you ever get like people contacting you on LinkedIn or like disagreeing with what you've said or, commenting certain things,
The only people who ever disagree with what I said was OutSystems developers.
Oh, really?
I have spoken to quite a lot of developers, and I say quite a lot. I've had a handful reach out to me to discuss it. Obviously, if I had a handful reach out, more have read the content. So the message is definitely getting out there. When I was at Mendix, I did speak to a training company in, I think they were based out of India, 250 developers they had come in. And I talked to them about my experience and where I'd come from and where I can see low code going to try and convince them that, do you know what, it's worth doing this course. It's worth learning Mendix because there is a career in it. There is definitely need for Mendix developers. So they all were positive about the experience. I got good feedback from them. So I'm definitely making some waves there. But it is very difficult because, especially when you consider people go to university and pay a lot of money to learn to be a programmer, and they are taught a traditional programming language. They come out of university having spent all this money. You go, actually, do this really easy thing over here.
Exactly.
Doesn't sit well. People don't like it. Or you've spent 10 years building up your domain expertise. And I'm saying, throw that away. Take the skills you've used and build over here. Some people will want to, some people will try it. I was once told that the sweet spot is somebody with 10 years experience. Because like me, they got to the point where they're fed up of writing the same old code every day, but they still want to be a programmer. Well, you don't have to write that same old code every day. You can have 50% of the workload taken off you. Because it's straight out of the box functionality.
And obviously we found this, and you're probably the same. The UK itself is not the biggest pool of low code developers out there. Obviously, like Mendix is probably, I'd say, you probably agree, Netherlands is kind of the big up there. OutSystems being the Portugal side. Why do you think it's just not enough customers have purchased the platforms to not give developers the confidence to move on, or do you think it's still just what you've just said about they do these courses and they just think, well, I've spent all this money, why would I switch over?
I think there's certainly a brand name recognition issue, which, because Mendix was grown in Holland, that's where it was built. Obviously, it's a much wider known name there.
Yeah.
They've spent more time building that
Yeah.
market. Same for OutSystems in Portugal.
Yeah.
I think that gives you that breadth more.
Yeah. Yeah.
People have had chance to spread the name around more.
Yeah.
The UK, yeah, there is fewer customers, although growing every year.
Yeah.
Same for OutSystems as well. I
Mm.
think there is an argument to be said that people aren't aware what low code is and what it does.
Yeah.
Therefore, that pool just isn't there yet.
Mm.
The university courses certainly is an issue
Yeah.
because we're trying to persuade people after the fact.
Yeah.
I know Mendix, for example, have university courses now where they're
Nice.
putting actual courses into university to show
Oh,
people
great.
earlier
Yeah.
to say, hey, look, you can do this,
Yeah.
which is definitely an increasing volume. I
Yeah.
think that is something that needs to be tackled
Yeah.
across
Yeah.
the board, just to increase that pool.
Yeah.
But yeah, we need to. The largest available pool out there is traditional developers,
Yeah.
and we
Yeah.
do need to help convince them that,
Mm.
do you know what, try it, give it a go.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
might be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
certainly
Yeah.
was.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, the good thing that they're doing is, like you said, if you can get into the universities, then the individuals are not 3, 4 years invested into
Yep.
one tech already. So if it's there early, it's really kind of opens their mind, their kind of mind, and it lets them explore it a bit more. Like there's a lot of companies doing these, and universities doing these degree apprenticeships now, which I think is great. There's a lot of low code developers coming out of that, where they're studying and learning the platform from the get go. And once they're graduating, they're pretty much seasoned. They're
Well, that's it.
good level developers.
It's the same thing, isn't it? You're
Yeah,
invested now in low
yeah,
code. So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
there was an interesting story that Mendix did about a couple of students from America
Mm,
who did a group project and they built a system. It wasn't in low code, it was
mm.
React, I think they built it in
Okay.
originally. And then a year later, they had to do another project. Like, hey, what if we did that in Mendix?
Yeah,
The group got smaller. The time to build it also got smaller
yeah,
because what they'd taken them months to do in React as a large group, two of them did in a couple of weeks
yeah.
with
Wow.
Mendix. And it's
Yeah,
like, that's what you're getting.
yeah,
And
yeah.
that'll come out of university now. And almost undoubtedly, they'll drop into a Mendix job somewhere
Mm, mm.
because
Yeah,
there is a desperate need for low
yeah,
code developers.
yeah, yeah. I think it's a global issue.
Mm,
I think I'm trying to find. I think like even I think low code in India is quite big, but
yeah.
even there's companies there struggling to find people in various platforms, um, which is why it's great to kind of talk to people like yourself and get the message out. And I think what's really great about kind of your background is, like you said, you did 10 plus years in
Mm,
.NET, and you've given me a tip now to approach every 10 year per traditional
absolutely.
programmer.
Absolutely. Are you getting
No,
fed up with
definitely.
writing the same old code
Yeah,
every day?
yeah,
Do you
exactly.
still
Yeah,
want to be a programmer and solve problems?
yeah,
Try
yeah,
this.
exactly.
Um,
Yeah.
but talking
Uh,
of region, an interesting one is that
mm.
I've got quite a lot of content followers in South America.
Really?
So
Okay.
it surprised
Any
me.
particular
Sorry.
country or?
Quite a lot in Brazil,
Okay.
but dotted around.
Yeah.
So
I think
I think it's
Brazil,
a
because
growing thing
Brazil's
there.
obviously OutSystems were quite big, and I think Mendix is now
Mm,
starting to grow. I think once a country kind of starts growing in one of the platforms, I think it makes other people start looking
yeah.
into what other ones are out there,
Well, we know that they're constantly fighting each other.
Exactly,
So
yeah,
if
exactly,
you if you go to a website and say OutSystems alternatives, Mendix is going
yeah,
to come up, and
exactly,
say
yeah,
Mendix
vice
alternatives,
versa, yeah, yeah,
OutSystems is
exactly,
coming up.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah.
And I think, what we try to kind of advise people as well when we speak to them is, by learning this platform now, you make yourself very unique in the job market.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to be fighting with 50 people and job applicants. I don't think we've ever had that.
No.
It's very down to 3 to 5 maybe, when
Yeah.
there's a job. So kind of it improves your chances. It kind of improves your career. I think we found, especially with low code, like many people have aspirations to live and work abroad,
Mm-hmm.
and with the shortage, there are a lot more companies open to
Yeah.
bringing people to the US, to UK, other parts of Europe. Middle East is, and that's what I was going to ask you. What's your kind of, because obviously I know with OutSystems, the Middle East is really growing.
Yeah.
Have you found the same with Mendix?
Um, I think it was definitely getting bigger.
Yeah,
I think they were later to the game than
yeah,
OutSystems were when it came to the
mm,
Asia Pacific region.
yeah,
But
yeah,
they're definitely there now. They are growing. They've
mm,
got a great team out there.
mm,
It is certainly picking up pace.
yeah, yeah,
Um, but one of the metrics I always use is how many messages do I get on
yeah.
LinkedIn for jobs?
Probably a lot.
Uh,
Probably a lot. Yeah.
not as many as I used to,
Okay.
but I think that's more to do with me being busy elsewhere and not posting much about low code at
Yeah,
the moment.
yeah, yeah. Sure.
But I still get 2 or 3 a week easily.
Mm,
Um,
yeah,
and people, yeah, just screaming out for
yeah,
anybody with low code experience.
yeah,
I mean, I
yeah.
still get .NET adverts. So to all the recruiters who send me .NET adverts for junior positions,
Oh
check
God.
your filters.
I'll give you some, I'll trump what you've said, and I get people because obviously my profile has low code written all over it,
Yeah,
and it's got the word OutSystems, Mendix, Appian. I get approached for developer jobs every week over various platforms,
yeah,
and I just reply saying, "Who's the client?" You know what I mean? But yeah, there's some recruiters obviously they're just doing the big search and the large
yeah,
scale
yeah.
messages,
I
offering
do
you
get very specific adverts as well, saying,
yeah,
we're looking for
yeah,
somebody who
yeah,
has 3 to 5 years experience in Mendix or
yeah,
OutSystems,
yeah,
or we need a lead to come in and pick up
yeah,
this. And honestly, if you can get yourself expert certified in either platform,
yeah,
you'll be
yeah,
beating off jobs with a stick at the end of the
yeah,
day.
yeah, exactly, exactly. And yeah, just the final kind of question is obviously about, you've had a real interesting career so far. What's your kind of, future kind of aspirations, any goals you're looking to kind of, obviously you're not that long into your current role, but anything you kind of got
Yeah.
in your mind.
My boss keeps saying to me, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And I say professional wrestler, which he
Yeah, cool,
doesn't
yeah.
like. Um, honestly, I just enjoy solving problems, and I like point in my career now. I like big picture stuff. I like
Mm,
larger issues and
yeah.
challenges. Um, Recently, I've been working on an Excel add-in, which I never thought
Mm,
I'd say. Not
yeah,
something I ever
yeah, yeah,
saw myself doing, but it was
yeah.
an interesting challenge.
Mm,
We've got a really unique approach to it and what we're doing.
mm,
I think it's going to be fundamentally for, especially financial institutions, it might be a real game changer.
yeah,
I think it will be. Um, so I'm enjoying that at the moment. I enjoy the company I work at. I enjoy what I'm doing.
yeah,
What's next? Who knows?
mm, yeah,
I've learned my lesson over the past 17 years.
yeah,
Take an interest.
yeah,
If someone comes to you with something, listen to them. Doesn't
yeah,
hurt
of
to
course,
listen.
yeah,
Costs you
yeah, of
nothing. Be
course, yeah,
open-minded. The job I'm in now, originally they came to me and said, we need an Excel community manager.
yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not sure I'm a community manager, especially for Excel. I'm
Yeah, yeah,
not an Excel expert by any
yeah,
stretch. So, but I'm like, you know what? I'll hear them out.
yeah,
And
yeah, of course,
they
yeah.
showed me the platform, showed me what it does. I'm
Mm,
like, this is
I
fantastic. I want
like
to be
it, yeah,
part of this.
yeah,
And I ended up in a job that I never saw
yeah,
coming. So
yeah, yeah,
I
crazy.
try not to say, this is what I want to do, this is
Yeah,
where I
yeah,
want to
of course,
be,
yeah, yeah,
because you never know
yeah,
what's around the corner.
yeah, yeah. I'd say, it looks like, and I think you do, I think the content side you must enjoy because you're really good at it.
I still do work with marketing.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
I think I'll always dabble a bit in marketing and help out
yeah,
where I can.
yeah,
I like to think I've got an ability to take those complex ideas, turn them into something that's understandable and
yeah,
consumable, and help
yeah,
people, really understand the technology that we're offering and that's
yeah,
available.
yeah, yeah. Amazing. Well, thanks for taking the time, Adam. It was really good to talk to you and hear about your very interesting journey. I think it's a really inspiring one and good one, and it comes across. I think even before speaking to you, you can tell, okay, this individual's really invested in low code and really kind of, is an evangelist and kind of, really spreading the word, which is great.
Yeah, I truly do love it. I think it's
Yeah,
great. I hope people understand a bit more now how great it is, and
yeah.
but they should just give it a go.
Give it a go.
I'll always try and spread that message. It's
Amazing.
been great talking to you.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
Bye for now.
Bye.